Well, hey there. Welcome, or welcome back maybe, to Look What You Learned, where I make videos talking about stuff that I just like to talk about. Hey, Halloween is coming up soon, and that means one thing for sure. Ghosts. Yes, according to the ancient Celts, the souls of the dead will soon return to Earth to walk amongst the living, and frankly, I can't wait. We all know what ghosts are, some kind of spirit or presence left behind by a dead person that continues to walk the Earth rather than move on to some kind of afterlife. If you live in North America, then it's likely that you and I have a similar idea of what ghosts are supposed to be. Usually they look like they did in life, or maybe at the time of their death. Maybe they look transparent or flickery. They're tied to certain places because of trauma or unfinished business, and more often than not, they can't interact directly with the physical world very much unless they're vengeful. This is the kind of ghost that gets the most attention in media, at least the kind that I watch. However, this isn't the universal understanding of undead spirits. While the vast majority of cultures and religions around the world have some kind of ghost or restless spirit involved, few interpretations of these spooky specters are exactly the same. If you're tired of the same old hauntings, this is the video for you. In the spirit of Halloween, why don't we take a look at a few different ghostly creatures from around the world that you might just run into this Halloween. Grab your iron, grab your proton packs, grab your Ectobar glasses, and let's get spooky. Let's begin our tour in Japan, a land replete with fascinating mythology of terrifying creatures. Of all the scary, spooky spirits roaming around the country, few are scarier than the Onryo. Onryo are a type of yurei, which are basically Japanese ghosts, and honestly, they share a good few similarities with the ghosts that I'm familiar with. They're the spirits of people who died with some sort of unfinished business, and now they roam the earth, bothering the living as they attempt to complete their earthly shortcomings. There are many different types of yurei that are all differentiated by their behavior and reasoning for a going ghost, but the most famous and spooky are the vengeful Onryo. Basically, if a person dies while feeling intense negative emotions like anger or hatred, there's a chance that that person's spirit will linger as an angry ghost that seeks vengeance against those that wronged them in life, as well as, just anyone they come across, really. The most common reason for a person to become an Onryo is if they were murdered, which is pretty understandable. That's the kind of thing that'll put a damper on your eternal rest and leave you with a grudge. Excuse me. Yeah, anyone who's seen The Grudge or its superior original, Ju-on, can look at the Psyche family as a pretty decent example of Onryo. They're born from a series of violent and angry murderers, and they torment and even murder the living, and with their pale skin and black hair, they even resemble the most common depictions of Onryo, especially Kayako with her long, flowing hair. Hey, that also kind of sounds like Samara Morgan, aka the girl from The Ring. Yeah, that's because she and the movie itself are remakes of another Japanese horror movie. Samara and her template Sadako highlight another staple of the Onryo's appearance, their white clothing. Yurei in general are often described as wearing funeral clothing, or sometimes just white clothes in general, due to the color's association with death in Japanese culture. Whatever they wear or look like, you definitely don't want to meet one of these things. Their wraithy wrath causes them to be quite violent towards the living, and in fact Onryo are quite well known for outright killing people. That's quite a step up from the usual rattling of chains and saying boo. If you're unlucky enough to cross paths with an Onryo, your options are limited. Certain ofuda, or talismans, can be used to keep them away, but if you want to put them down for good, you'll need to perform certain burial rituals designed to put spirits to rest. However, according to some sources, that might not even work, as some Onryo are filled with such violent rage that they can never rest. The moral of the story here is be nice to people you run into while trick-or-treating this year. You don't want to start a very deadly grudge. Let's stay in Asia for now and talk about the ghostly creature that appears in Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, as well as others, the Preda, or hungry ghost. Predas are one of the things that humans and other things can reincarnate into after death. Their exact nature varies culture to culture, but for the most part, people become these after living a life of greed or gluttony or other worldly obsession. Their existence is defined by an insatiable hunger, either for food in general or for something more specific. The classic depiction of a Preda shows them with thin limbs and a large gut, tiny pinpoint mouths. In some cultures, Preda, or a derivative creature, look more like they did in life. Sometimes Predas are confined to their Preda realm, which is another plane of existence that's completely separated from Earth, while other times they wander the Earth alongside humans, and the realm is more of a state of being. Those that live amongst humans are usually invisible, and sometimes are forced to try and satiate their hunger by eating gross or taboo things like human flesh or waste or romaine lettuce. Ugh. Some stories say that if they attempt to eat actual food, it'll turn to ash in their hands, so you probably don't want them wandering around your house trying to eat your precious candy corn. Fans of Naruto might recognize Preta as one of the paths of pain, specifically the one that can absorb chakra, which works as a nice reference to the bottomless hunger of the Preta. Another pop culture example of a Preta, albeit an unintentional one, might be the crew of the Black Pearl from the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Remember that? The Curse of Cortez causes the greedy pirates to become undead skeletons, incapable of eating or experiencing any physical pleasure. Okay, so it's not a perfect example, but you get the point. There isn't much information on warding off Pretas, probably because in many cases, the Preda threata comes from the idea of becoming one rather than encountering one. Still, if you have one show up at your door this Halloween asking for candy, give them the stuff nobody else wants, like raisins. Ugh. Let's head to Scandinavia. If you find yourself hunting hauntings in the frosty north, there's a chance you'll come across a unique type of ghost called the Gengar. I think that's how you pronounce it. I honestly wasn't sure if these things belonged on the list because really they aren't very ghostly. Not only do they appear virtually indistinguishable from living people, they're usually described as being completely corporeal. Legends differ on whether they're spirits that can become solid or if they're more zombie-like, but either way, they're interesting and I'm going to talk about them because this is my channel. Like many ghosts, Gengar arise from a particularly tragic or violent death. Unlike most ghosts, they have a very particular way of messing with the living: pinching. Gengar are best known for breaking into the homes of people at night and pinching them while they sleep. How horrifying! No, really, it is. See, while pinching alone would be annoying, the pinches of the Gengar carry horrible disease. Yes, instead of the usual haunts, these ghosts prefer biological warfare. Exactly what disease comes with the pinching varies, but it's often described as something flesh-eating and incurable. Like vampires, these ghosts or whatever could be repelled with holy symbols like crosses and holy water. The best way to deal with them is to prevent them from rising in the first place with a series of burial rituals, though apparently, if things get really bad, you could try fighting them with a sword like the Vikings did in some stories. Be careful though, they'll try using pinch, and if it hits, it'll be super effective. Let's end this tour by heading to the lands of my ancestors and taking a look at a ghostly creature that's actually associated with Halloween, the Slua. Now, the name might not seem particularly threatening, but the Slua is no joke. To put it simply, the Slua are a group of dark, twisted souls that swarm the lands of Scotland and Ireland, taking souls to add to their ranks. Originally, they were considered to be fairies, but after the introduction of Christianity, the host of the Slua were reimagined to be the souls that were rejected from both heaven and hell. The Slua appears as a flock of black crows or a cloud of dark smoke to most people, though if you look closely enough, you'll see it's made up of dark, twisted skeletal figures all flying around each other. They fly at night, especially Samhain, looking for unsuspecting people to attack and kill. Apparently, some people could be returned alive, though usually with severe injuries. While anyone can be unlucky enough to cross paths with the Slua, some people actually summon them unintentionally. There are two ways to do this. The first is to have your heart filled with darkness or despair, which apparently calls out to them. The other way is to simply utter the word Slua. Anyway, it doesn't seem like there's a particular way of fending off this grisly ghostly group. Really, the only thing you can do is hide from them by staying inside at night. If you don't have shelter, you could try disguise, since this is literally one of the things people use costumes to hide from on Halloween. Now, I can't guarantee that that will work, but if it doesn't, hey, at least your night won't be boring. I dare say you'll be the life of the party. Anyway, that concludes our little tour. Isn't it fascinating how different cultures interpret ghosts and the supernatural? Which of these do you not want to meet? Do you even believe in ghosts? More importantly, would you want to see more videos like this from this channel? Let me know all of that below. I'm so excited that it's almost Halloween. For the month of October, I'm planning to shake things up a little bit. It'll be great, trust me. I'll see you guys when September ends, but for now, look what you learned.